Welcome everyone, it's Gina Noetica here from Expanding Consciousness, and I've got a guest speaker here, Coll, who is from the Inner Peace Movement International. And in October, he is touring New Zealand, and I'm very excited to bring you his program. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about his offerings here in New Zealand, because you might be interested in seeing him in person and joining in on the lectures and workshops that are coming our way. Welcome, Tiger.
Thank you for having me, Gina. Great to be on the show.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited because the things that you do and the things that I do seem pretty aligned. And I think that there's a real place here for your wisdom here in New Zealand. I know people are quite thirsty for understanding things like their own life purpose, their direction in life. I get asked plenty from people around me, who are my guides? How do I tap into my inner resources? And common questions these days that I'm coming across is, how do I get through stressful times? I know the last few years, people within my community and across the world are finding challenges in all aspects of life, in society, in family, in work, in relationships. So I know that you are someone that's got a lot of wisdom and a lot of practical ways of getting us through these things in life. I have to say, what I'm really attracted to is people that have got a really good process and a long time doing what they do. So I know you know your stuff really well. One, you were born into it, but also you've had a couple of decades working professionally within the WayShowers College and also touring with the Inner Peace Movement International. And that is reassuring because in my career and within my community and the people that I interact with a lot, some are quite new in the spiritual path, and it can be really confusing. And there can be a lot of people out there that seem well-meaning but may misguide people, whether it's intentional or not. But sometimes when you're in a vulnerable state and you're looking for a way and you're looking to try and find your own inner resources, it can be hard to navigate. Who do I learn from? Who can I trust? Who, can I count on to give me really well thought out sort of ideas, processes, a way forward? And sometimes within my own field, I spend a lot of time undoing some of, I guess, I don't know what the right word is, not mistakes, but some of the misguidance that can come through for people, because that can cause a lot of other problems. So what I really like about, what you're presenting and what seems really attractive is that this has been around for decades. So your father started this in the 60s, it's continuously evolving, but you seem to have a really structured framework that's solid. I've had what's called a profile reading done. I got that done maybe about 9 years ago, and I really liked it. It gave me a little bit of insight to what my prophecy or my purpose is. Gave me a bit of insight into how many guides I have and what kind of what they might be around for. And it gave me a little bit of insight into my own thinking, like where I am in life. And I found it really helpful at the time. It was presented to me in a way that was in a balance of both being an intuitive kind of reading, but also a little scientific, but balanced in terms of like, what can I do in my society and in my world and in my life in a practical sense. So I didn't get like too woo-woo. And for those people that know me, I mean, I love woo-woo, but I love science. Like I love both. Science and spirituality for me are very equal, and I love both. And what you present seems to be very grounded, but also talks about, things that people love, guides, angels, intuitive purpose, direction, things like that. So when you come to New Zealand, you're doing both lectures and you're doing workshops. So the lectures are 60 to 90 minutes. The workshops are about 3, maybe 4 hours. And it's very, very affordable as well. Like you say, the Inner Peace Movement International is a not-for-profit. And the prices for the lectures are only around about the $20 mark, about that price. And the workshops seem to be around the $45 mark. Now, that's incredibly affordable, because I see some workshops and other things going around that are a lot more than that. And I know the value of what you give is just huge. So let's talk a little bit about the lectures and the workshops. So why would someone go to a lecture and why would someone choose to go to a workshop? And is it best that they go to both or not? How does it kind of work when you come to New Zealand?
Sure. So just to open with what you started with, because it directly correlates about the lectures and the workshop. So talking about where people perhaps can misguide people, things like that. I think the golden guideline, and I hope everyone takes this away and puts it in your own toolkit, and you have it forever, is that there is a term that you utilize when you're working with anyone, right? Whether it's someone you really admire or someone you're suspect, and that is helping people to help themselves. That's the mantra. That's the term that someone should go in when they are working with a consultant, when they are working with a professional. Is this person helping me to help myself? Right? And as a professional, all of us who are helping and working with people, am I helping that person to help themselves? If I'm working off that motive, then there's always support and backing. There's always extra that's there that's unseen, right? If those motives are not clear, that's when a lot of what you're bringing up, Gina, can move in, and it can be misguided type thing. And people do work it out. I mean, it's new people are figuring it out. They want to help people, and they're kind of sorting it out how they're going to help people. I'm going to kind of open with a little analogy, right? And then we'll talk about, because this is part of the lecture and the second step workshops. So I want you to imagine a very sensitive computer, right? Kind of like you as a baby. So a programmer has to come and put little pieces of data into that computer so that it can function in its normal process, right? So 1 + 1 = 2, things like that. Sometimes a programmer will put in misinformation. And so the computer puts out misinformation. But to the computer, it's the correct information because it's been fed, right? So imagine someone charting their whole life course based on a little misinformation, right? And that's what you're talking about there. And so why I'm saying that little analogy is because the whole premise of these little steps, that is to say the lecture, the technique workshop, are helping people start to get that bigger picture so that if there's any misinformation, that can get clarified, right? So the orientation lecture is the first step, right? There's some free videos that you can go on in the website and kind of just see the bigger picture if this is for you. I'll go over some of those. But the orientation lecture is that about, give or take, about an hour and a half or so, and there's a few techniques in it, but it does give you that large, broad understanding, and it really talks about who you really are, right? The energy component of it, the intelligence, the life force, and it just goes through the whole of life and your purpose and navigating all the relationships and society, and it even talks about your higher source and the higher spirit and other things like how to work with like attracts like, and when there's negativity. And then there's also talking about the 7-year cycles and how we move through rhythms and cycles, the past, present, and future. And of course, the big important one that you brought up, Gina, is how to start working with my means of communications, my innate gifts that I have of prophecy and vision, intuition and feeling. There's a whole kind of world there. But that hour and a half is set aside for people to really gain that bigger picture and come away with a bigger understanding and being able to, how can I apply this in my life type thing. If that's for you, if you're ready to go, and that's, you've been looking for something like this, then the natural next step is the technique workshop that you brought up. And that's where we shift from kind of that lecturing energy into let's go have some experiences. And so they actually will take some aspects of the lecture, and then we actually go through it, and the people go through techniques, they regroup on it, they share on it, they do more techniques. So it takes it out of the ethereal, and let's say, okay, let me have an experience for it. And as you were bringing up, Gina, how can I make it practical? So that whole thing I brought up about, the fundamental is, if you give a hungry person a fish today, they'll only be hungry again tomorrow, right? If you teach that person how to fish, they're going to have the freedom to use their whole, own resources, and no one will ever be to keep them in bondage, right? They'll be free. And so that's what each step is about. It's little fishing lessons so that you can be free. And we kind of have a saying in our outfit that says that this is a watering hole to quench your thirst. And when your thirst has been quenched, then it's done its purpose, meaning that you're free. There's no contracts. You can come and go as you please, and the steps will always be there. So the bottom line is, the orientation lecture is that nice big picture to help you get aware of those things and kind of see where it all fits. And the technique workshop lets you move into, okay, let's have an experience. Let's start making it practical. And it prepares you for the third and fourth and fifth steps and so forth, because it does keep going. Keeps letting you get more practical, getting deeper, richer, things like that. So there's probably hundreds of techniques. There's a lot of profiles that you brought up briefly, a lot of courses, and it just lets you go step by step so that you don't have to try to swallow the ocean at once.
Thank you. It sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to attending the lectures and the workshops myself. I just am really curious to see how it's all framed and to learn from it and be immersed in it. I'm curious, like, I know that a lot of people say they're on a goal, they're on a mission, I should say, they know there's a different them within themselves. They are seeking a way of, as you say, finding their inner freedom. And they can go through all different roads and paths and come across different modalities to try and get to that place. But a really important thing for me is, when does somebody know that they have actually reached that place? When have they found their inner freedom? For people that haven't got there yet, how does it feel? And how will they know that they've actually reached that kind of destination? Is there such a thing of knowing? And does it, in your experience, do you find people sit in it for a long time once they've got to their inner freedom? Or does it just last a little while and they've got to go on another journey to sort of get there? Or is there any way you can kind of describe it for people?
Sure. I think that's a very common question, Gina, so there's a balance of my head and heart, right? The intellect and feeling, or the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And the conscious mind, or the intellect, has a way of wanting to make things very linear. I start here and I end here, right? And that's important. We need that here, right? We need to have goals. We need to understand. So to partly answer the question, is it has to do with contentment, right? That place where you get where you're getting close when there's more contentment and inner peace in your life. Doesn't mean you're going to have inner peace with everything, because life is kind of like peeling off onion layers. You just keep going until you discover more of the real you. So, but as you gain that feeling and that sense of contentment, of inner peace, of inner freedom, those are your gauges. Those are your measuring sticks to just evaluate, not judge yourself, but evaluate how you're doing, right? And are you feeling more relaxed, or are you feeling tense? Are you enjoying yourself? Are you not, right? Are you happy? Are you not, right? Those, believe it or not, as simplistic as that sounds, they are your guides, right? And if we say this in the lecture, but if you're having more up days than down days, then chances are at least you're on the right track, right? If you're having more down days than up days, then it's time to start looking left or right, up or down, to discern where you need to be, right? But that way, otherwise you're just going to waste time, right? It just becomes a big waste of time if you're not having that kind of sincerity. Hey, listen, I want to enjoy myself. That's part of, we'll go over it here further, but that's part of why you're here. That's part of why I'm here. We're here to have fulfillment. That is a need. It's not a want. It's a need to have fulfillment. So it's important to discern how I'm feeling, not I love that term, that woo-woo way, but just in a very, how do I feel? Do I feel good? Okay, if I do, great. Let me do more of that. If I don't, okay, what do I need to do about that? Right? And recognizing that I do have power. And I think that's the issue that a lot of people can get into, that there's a sense that I've lost something, or I don't have something, right? When in reality, I have all the power, right? As a matter of fact, you look outside and the businesses, people advertise to you on TV and on YouTube, and they advertise to you because they want what you have. They want your attention. Politicians advertise to you because they want they want your vote, right? So in the end, it's the individual, it's you, it's me that has the power. So it's an illusion that I don't have it. So to answer your question, the contentment, the inner peace, the inner freedom, that sense that I almost want for nothing, right? That feeling is a good gauge to know where I'm at. I still need get up and go in life. That's very important. So it's been my experience that there really is no end. There is just this continual unfoldment, and things get better and better and better. And what I thought was great and wonderful turns out that was just one little level. And wow, I'm feeling so much better, right? And I still have challenges in knowing everything I know, team. I still have challenges. So I wish I could tell you I didn't, but I do. But I get out of them faster. I get out of problems faster, and I enjoy myself more, right? I know how to navigate better the ups and downs, and I know when to move in and when to move out, right? So I would say the answer is more contentment, inner peace, and inner freedom in a very practical way. So if you and I are stuck in traffic and it's just gridlock and we're not going anywhere and it's hot, how relaxed are we, as opposed to getting aggro in the car and yelling at people? And I mean, that level of practicality, right? When I'm having challenges with my family, am I able to move smoothly through it? Or am I all over the place and I'm a wreck when it's over? Those are what I mean by that contentment. I don't mean that contentment like I'm sitting on a rock by myself and now all is holy. I mean, that's part of it, but it's more about how I'm going to do it in my daily life.
Yeah, it sounds like people really start to gain a little mastery over their emotions and whether they choose and how they choose to react, if they react. And I think we can all benefit from that. I'm wondering if we could expand the conversation a little bit from the micro to the macro. So from the person or the individuals that come and attend the lectures and workshops, and they start to learn techniques around how to access their inner freedom or inner peace. And part of that is perhaps discovering their purpose or direction and some tools to use, to discern that and get into it. When people start to practice these techniques and start on their path, being in alignment with their purpose, on a macro scale across the world, if more people were in alignment with their purpose and direction and living with their inner freedom and inner peace, what would we see generally? Like, how
Oh
would
my
we
goodness. You would see a revolution is what you'd see, in a positive way, in a nonviolent way. You would see a revolution, because there's an old saying that says, if a large group of people start thinking about someone in a very positive way, that person can't help but feel that positive energy, and the best will come out. So if you apply that as a whole, right, more of us start just living based on our own needs and life purpose, that positive energy, right, then that has an effect. It's almost like it sweats from people. The vibe goes out. I just use it kind of one of those fancy terms. It just goes out, and that has an effect on everything, on everything. And when you're at the clerk in the store, and when you're trying to get through papers in the government, and when you're talking to family, there is a complete change, absolute change if more people do it that way. So there would be a peaceful revolution, is the short answer, if we all start going there. Um, there is I think what you're picking up also, Gina, is that there every so often, right, and this is cyclical, every so often there's a tide that comes in and a tide that goes out, right? And it's important that that happens. And when I'm saying that, let me just be a little bit more specific. There's specific energy patterns that move through planet Earth, and then they move out and something else moves in, right? It's this nice ebb and flow thing. And that allows people to grow. That allows people who are awakening to actually awake. It allows things to get stimulated and change. So all those things are a part of our makeup here in our solar system and our galaxy and all that good stuff. And we can't escape those, right? It happens. Some cycles happen every so many thousand years. Some happen every 100 years. Some, and we got to get up every morning, so we got to do it every day. So there's all this kind of thing like that. So one of the things that you're sharing about now is the tide that's coming in, is that more opportunity or that more free flowing energy where people can have those awakenings to move to the next step, to move to the next plateau in their career as a spirit, as a soul, as an energy, as a consciousness, right? There's more energy for that, right? So it's kind of like saying that's happening every day. And then every so often, there's this tide that moves in that allows more opportunity for more people to do it because the tide is higher. When the tide is a little bit lower, it's a little bit more challenging, but you still can get there, right? So we're in that time right now. It's got that tumultuous time where the tide is coming in, so it provides a lot of opportunity. Now, I do want to, for everybody watching, I do want to make one little point here. This does not mean everything's going to be rainbows and roses. This means that there's going to be change, right? And it's really important that that you tune in to people, the people listening tune into people like you, Gina, others, attend this program if you want, but to really have connected with people of like mind and to have those bigger pictures, because change, even if it's good change, creates fear in people. And so that's a very important thing to be aware of, that while I can be very spiritual, I also need to be very clear in my purpose and direction so that I don't get off track, right? That I don't get pulled away in other people's fears. See, most people who have challenges, it's amazing if they were to put their little pie chart on the table, most of that percentage wouldn't be them that were having troubles. They just pick up other people's fear, right? And then they react to them. So it's a tremendous time we're in, and the tide is coming in, and that's been my experience, but we're in that time, and it's going to be lasting for a while. But the key to it is just making sure that we take advantage of this opportunity to regroup ourselves, to advance, to move forward, to have more fun, to be of service is another key word, right? And also, in the end of the day, to live and let live, right? Because there are going to be people who aren't ready. They're just not ready. And it's not my work. And in my opinion, it's not anybody else's work to try to force somebody to move up in consciousness. I think they need to do that themselves because it's more powerful that way. And the principle of live and let live just needs to be applied to everything. But that's kind of the, I hope I don't overstate that. It's just an important point that as we all feel this shift happening, right? I mean, we just came out of 2 years of some challenges, right? So it's to remember that, you know, there are things that we're going to have to deal with, and those things are going to bring us new things. Some people won't want to change, but there'll be a lot of opportunity to change. And I think that's that larger mass of people will start to pick that up and say, hey, listen, it's time for me to be more content. It's time for me to have more fun and fulfillment. It's time for me to be more of service. So I think that's that wave that we're in. And there's more people, of course, joining.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I'm really excited about that. It all seems really in alignment. I find in my own experience too that when you are in alignment with your own direction, your own purpose, there is an enormous amount of life force energy that comes through to assist you to get that job done. And it's important to, not sort of go into the fear state, because it's sort of a lower vibration. It can kind of drain the energy a little bit. So, just being able to have those resources and tools to make sure you're staying on your own purpose, all that life energy floods through. And focusing in on yourself, it also means that you are being the change that you want to see, or like, if you just sort of lead by that example, that if you want the world to sort of be in peace or have good communication or respect each other's, whatever, if you're being that change, really that's one of the most influential things you can do, because rather than trying to drag other people into your own viewpoint or what you think they need to do, they will just choose to either follow you or see you as an example, like be the change that they might want to be or not. But you don't need to sort of use your energy in trying to convince someone. You just focus on yourself and be what you need to be in order to achieve your own purpose.
Right. Beautifully said. Boy, you should have a podcast. That's really great.
Thank you.
If you want,
so we've got. Oh, what was it? Sorry, Coll.
I was going to say, if you want, I just can give you a real big picture about. You brought up that purpose thing. There's kind of 5 points that I would love to just share real quick, just to give people a really good feeling about it.
Yeah.
And the first point is you are energy, right? You are, you have been, you always will be. You're a consciousness, you're a life force, you're a soul with a physical body, not a physical body with a soul, right? You are. So that's important, because that one message will be the basis for all other messages you have in your life, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Science says that you're a consciousness, and religion says you're a soul, you're eternal, and you're going to go on. So why that's important, and I do bring this up further in the lecture, is that all of the fears we have here are based on the fear of death or the fear of separation, which is probably a more apt term, right? If we understand that we are energy, I understand I am energy, I am a consciousness, I am, then a lot of things settle down. And that change you're talking about makes much, it's like putting grease on the tracks. It's just so much more smooth. So the first point, you are energy. The second point is you are here to learn and grow. We all share that common denominator as a consciousness, as a soul. That's what we're here for. In other words, planet Earth is a giant school, right? We're all here learning and growing. Point 3 is you have a unique purpose and thrust in life, right? So imagine all the thoughts you've ever had, all the feelings you've ever had throughout time. That makes you unique. No one has ever had all of that put together like you. It could be similarities with other people, but no one has thought your thoughts and felt your feelings and had your experiences the way you have and interpreted them the way you have. Even siblings, even twins don't have that, right? Everybody thinks so. That means your purpose, while we all come here to learn and grow, your purpose is unique. You have very specific lessons that you came to work with. And that's why certain jobs resonate with you and certain jobs don't. Or certain people might resonate and certain people don't. It's because of your unique purpose, your unique lessons, right? So you have unique purpose and thrust. The fourth thing is you have help. You have spiritual guidance from higher dimensions to help you. And when I say higher dimensions, I'm not talking about something woo-woo, as you said. I'm talking about something very pragmatic that can help you, right? Some people call them angels, some people call them masters, archetypes, even the higher self. Whatever you call them, they're there to help and assist you in your life purpose. That's why they're there, right? Don't be too proud to ask. And the fifth one, you're free. You're free to make masterful messes and masterful successes, right? It's your freedom to do that, right? And as long as you remember that, it kind of takes the whole thing home because you can have a good measure of how you're doing, of how free you feel, right? How free am I to communicate with you? How free are you to communicate with me, right? How free am I to navigate the rules and regulations of society? Because, you know, it's good. Some of these rules are good because we want to respect each other, right? Let's not go breaking all the rules because just for the sake of it. No, there's some good parts there. So let's make sure I am free as I navigate things. So my freedom is ultimately starts becoming my measure, becomes a measure to know how far I've come. So the last piece of that is if you're having a relationship, when you first have a relationship, you could be all tied up of what to say and not to say and so forth. And then as you progress in your relationships, whether it's in that same one or other ones, you start feeling more free to just communicate, be yourself. That shows you that you've progressed, right? So if you apply that to everything, whether you're healing people, whether you're sharing with them, whether you're just being with them, whether you're being with yourself, that becomes a great measure. How free do I feel? How well am I working with things? So those are the 5 points to just kind of get you started, to get a feeling for this. And then we go in great detail and depth.
Sounds amazing. And it's something that everyone can benefit from. There's something in it for someone from all walks of life, no matter what stage you're at in life. There is, I think everyone desires to find that inner freedom and that contentment and have some really practical, grounded guidance on how to get there. So I am so looking forward to your tour, Tiger Coll, and I'm just having a quick look through your timetable. Just about anywhere in New Zealand that you are, you can probably get to a lecture and workshop because Tiger is travelling all the way from Auckland, stopping in Hamilton, Tauranga, Napier, Wellington, down in the South Island in Christchurch and Queenstown and back up to Auckland. So you're covering most of the country, which is wonderful. So most people will get access to see you. Is there any sort of closing words you'd like to say, Tiger?
I think the closing words would be to just believe in yourself, right? There's a lot of things that are going on. There's going to be changes and transitions. There's going to be a lot of people that have a lot of ups and downs, but the constant just needs to be to believe in yourself, right? If you want to understand people better, if you want to understand the universe better, if you want to understand healing better, if you want to understand anything better, believe in yourself. If that becomes a part of you in your daily life and you start making that your inner mantra, your inner affirmation, I believe in myself, then everything else will work out. Your mistakes will turn into stepping stones. Your relationships will become clearer, right, of where you need to be and where you don't need to be, right? And then there's less need to be proving self. There's less need to compete. There's less need for glory or devotion or something out there, right? We'll start working from that inner pivot point, which is what you brought up, Gina, about all of us starting to move to a different place. Right. So the more I'd say that you believe in yourself, the better things will move forward for you as an individual and then as the group of us. Because I can benefit from, if I'm rocking up to Gina's place and Gina is just believing in herself and she's doing great, and I go, wow, I just feel great. All of a sudden that gives me the example to move forward. And I can't help but be affected by that. So believe in yourself and enjoy.
Very powerful words, and believing in yourself is contagious, so which is a good thing. Great. Oh, thanks so much, Tiger Coll, for your time today. It's been really, really interesting, and I'm so grateful you're coming to New Zealand, because I know that we're going to lap it up and really enjoy what you have to teach us, and I think there's a real place for it in our community here. So I look forward to seeing you next month, and I hope, if you're watching, that you can get along to a local lecture and workshop.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.